Hello, guys. Good morning. We're here at PBJJF Podcast number fifth second. Fifth second, is that right?
52nd?
52nd.
Yeah.
Special guest, Stephen Miller.
Hello.
Known Stephen for a long time, 9 years, right, Stephen?
Something like that, yeah.
And man, it would be a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
And many good things to chat about. And just before we start, I just wanna ask you guys, don't forget, subscribe, comment, click the bell button, don't forget about it, and share with your friends. Here at the podcast, there's so much knowledge. We were actually talking before, right? Sharing information, learning a lot from you, and make sure you guys share with your friends. If they like jiu-jitsu or don't, tell them to watch the podcast. Maybe after this podcast, they will find a place to go. And Steven's right close in Colombia. You might go and train with him. And if you want to train with me, you can go to Savannah Park. So guys, also I just want to thank our sponsors. Brave Kimonos, the best jiu-jitsu gear in the market. If you go to bravekimonos.com, you will find the best products. And if you use PBJJF as discount code, you're going to receive 10% off. Also, Santos Law Firm, your high-profile immigration law service. The best and only one to go. They will support and help you with any immigration cases. Go to Santos Lloyd Law Firm. And also Perkins Dental Care, your well-trusted dental office in Baltimore area. If you guys need any service, if you need a mouth guard, it's a great place to go. They can have custom mouth guard with your logo, Dr. James is also a blue belt, almost a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so he'll take care of you guys that are in jiu-jitsu. And any other service you might need, you might need implants, whatever, cleaning. So Perkins Dental Care, that's a place to go. And thank you, Steve, for being here today, brother.
Hey, I got a question for you. We were just talking about those mouth guards.
Mm-hmm.
This is I've had a lot of students ask this. They said, "Do you wear a cup and a mouth guard when training?" Do you wear a cup?
No.
Have you ever worn a cup?
For MMA.
Only for MMA? Yeah. What about mouth guard?
For MMA.
Okay.
I used to have braces, and now I'm working with Dr. James to get a custom mouth guard that won't constrict my breathing.
Yeah.
That's important.
Nice.
Sometimes you have a mouth guard that you can't even breathe properly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working on, getting a custom one that won't restrict my breathing.
Yeah, I know.
What about you?
I did when I was new. I didn't right away when I was new. I was kind of like, I won't do it. And then, of course, I got hit in the balls and, chipped my tooth, bite my tongue. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So when I was a white belt, I started doing it. And then as I got, when I was a blue belt, I was like, well, the IBJJF, you can't wear a cup. I was like, so I can't wear a cup. Let me take this cup off and do that. So I started trying to train without a cup, and then the mouthpiece, of course, the breathing was bothering me. So I stopped doing it. But I asked my other students, man, you don't get hit and the groin. I was like, when you're a higher belt,
you can control better.
Yeah, you can. I was like, he's like, what about them? I was like, I tell my students this at least every other day. I say, if you hurt your training partner, it's your fault. But also, if for the higher belts, if you get hurt, it's your fault. So and that's where the lower belts like, what? And I'm like, well, if you're a higher belt, you're also responsible for your safety. For example, shooting underhooks from side control and wrestling and stuff. I used to shoot the underhook and I would leave this hand wherever, and white belts would tuck their knee in and hit me in the head. And I could yell at the white belt, or I could just put my hand on my head. and then protect myself. And so I'm a big believer in that. And that's the part where they're like, well, when the guy's passing, like what about the knee cut pass? I'm like, well, the knee cut isn't supposed to go over the groin. It goes over the thigh. Yeah, to the side. I was like, so, and why am I flat on my back with that leg right in between my legs? I should shift my hips. I should move. Well, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, just want to shout out here to Ron, to our Will. If you guys have any questions for Stephen, you can also send some questions. I will be looking here. And also, I forgot to tell Stephen, I think we need to do something on the YouTube, but we have the member option. So if you want to become a member at the PBJJF Podcast and support the podcast, they can subscribe to YouTube and support the channel. Yeah. You're also a big streamer, right?
Yeah.
So, how's that for you? How can people support when you're streaming? Like, how do you get used? Can you say the name of the platform you use?
Yeah, I'm on Twitch. Yeah, Twitch.
Oh, they're going to block us here. kidding.
Yeah, Twitch.tv. I have a YouTube page as well. That's like my... I'm not like... All right, I do jiu-jitsu. I'm an introvert. I don't like being around a bunch of people. I mean, I do, but it takes a lot of energy from me. So the school jiu-jitsu is great because I'm around nice people, and we have like-minded, thoughts. So it's different. Jiu-jitsu, when you see me in jiu-jitsu, different than when you see me at the mall. Mm-hmm. If I'm walking at the mall and I see somebody I know, I get nervous. I'm like, oh man, I don't walk the other way. What do I do? So, my friends invite me. Hey, you want to come over to a party? I'm like, no. I watch football at my house, man. What is that? But so gaming is what I do in my spare time. I do jiu-jitsu. I go home. I play video games. And so I've been live streaming on Twitch for, I'd say, a little over a decade now. But I haven't been very consistent. So it's not like I'm every day doing this. You guys have a rhythm here and everything. To me, it's just fun. It started with just streaming for at first it was just I just wanted to have some things recorded and play with my friends, and where they can have some things recorded.
You can pull to you, sorry.
And play with my friends.
You can move around if you good.
I need to get one of these. So so I wanted to be able to play with my friends and where they can watch the stuff and all that. And one thing led to another. It just more people start watching and more people start subscribing, and when they subscribe to your channel, you start to get money, and then just kind of went from there. And now it's just recently I started playing Grand Theft Auto, and I'm playing that. And what I wanted to do is I was what I started recording I started streaming because I wanted to, funny moments were happening and I wanted them to be documented just for me to watch. And then as I started streaming it, other people were like, yo, this is funny. And then they're clipping little clips and sending them to me, and it's just a way for us all to get around. It's back in the day when say back in the day, when I was younger, the way we played video games together, right? Did you play video games when you were younger?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way we play, you ever play GoldenEye?
I don't remember. I played Super Mario.
Okay, so Super Mario.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, so
Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm. So with GoldenEye, that was a shooter game on Nintendo 64, very popular. And what it did is your TV was split screen. So you had four. Yeah.
Is that the 007?
Yes.
No? Oh, I know. I played that. Yes.
Yeah.
I played that.
So that was everybody's yelling at each other. They're like, "Are you watching my screen? You watching my screen? How do you know I'm coming?" Everybody's yelling at each other. So people are trying to block it out. Their things.
I remember.
But then then you would play other games, and your friends would sit on the couch with you. And I remember one time I went over to one of my friends' house, and it was Eric was his name, and Eric, he had his TV, I had my TV, and then we both had our Xboxes, and we would play Skyrim together. And it's a single player game, but just being in the same room where we can talk to each other and both play a game at the same time was pretty cool. And that's kind of what streaming has become for me. Now when I stream, it's my friends will come in my chat and they'll be playing a game too, but I'll be talking to them. They'll type in there, ask me a question, or just be like, hey, what's up, man? We're just doing so. Just a way to socialize. So instead of actually being right next to each other, we used to. So I've been since the end of Halo 2. I was in the competitive scene with Halo, with first-person shooters, from Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach, and then followed into Destiny and then the Battle Royale, where I'll travel and compete and do a lot of online tournaments. Halo 2 and Halo 3 was funny. we used to. Do you know what a LAN is? A LAN party.
Yes. No, I played a lot in Brazil, Counter-Strike.
Okay, so
Like
did you get
in the same room playing together.
So that's what we would do. So Major League Gaming was the main organization that ran gaming, and what ran competitive stuff for Halo. But there was one guy, Demon D, who went to my high school, and I'm wearing a Major League Gaming shirt. He never really wore it. I'm rocking it, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, what?" And I wasn't good at gaming at the time. I was like horrible. But he was like, "Hey, Major League Gaming, you what game you play?" I was like, "I play Halo." He's like, "Oh, so do I." He's like, "You want to play sometime?" I was like, "Sure, man." So I add him. I have no idea who this guy is. He wasn't a pro player or anything yet. He ended up winning the national championship in Halo later, but I didn't know who this guy was. So we get into this party, and in the party, and you might not know these guys, but anybody that's around the competitive Halo scene does. In the party, T-Square joins. Washi joins, and all these other Defy and all these other guys these other pro players join. I knew who they were, so I'm like, holy crap, I know that guy. I'm like, is that really, like, that's Ogre One? Like, what? And it was just really cool.
Big names.
Yeah, big names. And I mean, they destroyed me, like absolutely annihilated me. But some of those guys live locally. And so what we would do is we'd have these LAN parties. So Demon D would invite me, and he'd be like, hey, come to these LAN parties. Bring a TV, bring your Xbox. That's it. And bring like an Ethernet cord. So we would all go there and we'd all connect to the router, and we'd have our tables set up in an L. You have one team here, and you would play each other. And then after a couple games, we'd mix it all up and we'd do it again. And then 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd run down to Royal Farms, grab a bunch of energy drinks, and then come back and do it again. And then around 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd go home and go to bed and sleep for the rest of the day. And so I'll do that constantly. When I was younger, that was like my thing. So and then Twitch was just kind of like the other thing.
A new version of that.
To some degree, yeah. It's not a LAN party, but it's another way to socialize with your friends.
I've seen some it's big industry, like the gaming, right? Like I see like
industry.
Yeah, like I didn't pay much attention, but now I see like the soccer teams in Brazil. They have their own e-games team. You know, like Flamengo's like the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
Here or.
You can get a scholarship now at colleges for it. You can get free ride scholarships
for e-games.
For esports. So
esports.
Yeah. So right. It first started with League of Legends. There's a documentary somewhere that was on Netflix at some point, and it was like they had their teams, and they would pay these guys like not like insane amount of money at the time, but like they would pay. Let's say like their salary was like $50,000. So to pay a 20-year-old $50,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah, he's like, man, just to play video games, like that's awesome. And he would live in the house, but like they had like a strict schedule for everything. You wake up at this time, you start playing at this time, you start studying at this time. Oh, not studying school, studying gaming. Yeah, you start studying this time. Then they had their coach, and their coach was like, these are the strategies we need to do. That yada yada yada. Then they would go to tournaments, and then there were incentives. If they won, they got more money, kind of stuff. But they would pay for their college. And like you would see players get dropped off and people picked up and all that. And it was pretty interesting to watch. Kind of goofy at first because it's like when you think sports, you think football. Mm-hmm. You think soccer. You think stuff like that, right? But for gaming, you're like, well, how's that? But if you aren't familiar with like competitive gaming is like extremely like the higher level guys. There's a lot of it's mental.
They're athletes. They work like
mental athletes. Yeah. It's there's a lot
discipline, right?
There's a lot to it. It's not just playing a game. People think they're good at a game, and then you talk and play with a pro, and you realize you're like, this guy understands every little mechanic, and he's planning and he's strategizing and he's thinking ahead, and you're like, yo, this guy's intelligent. Like, and it's like, and that's what they have to do to be very, very good at those games. You know.
It's like jiu-jitsu, right? Like you have to practice, you have to study, you have to sleep properly, you know.
And being good at jiu-jitsu and being good at competing are two different worlds.
True.
Like there's tons of great black belts, and then they go to competition, and then that blue belt could beat him because that blue belt strategized. He has 3 moves. That's all he's trying to focus on. The black was like, oh, I'm just trying to move around and go. And it's like you find this guy who's a Division I wrestler, like we were talking earlier. Mm-hmm. Division I wrestler who's just he's got a game plan. Yeah. He's not trying to tap. He's trying to get points. Yeah.
That's true. But it's important for you to, if you want to, get better at competing, right? It's important to learn about strategy.
Oh yeah.
Right, learning the rules. Like, how do you feel that about competing? Like comparing with using strategy in gaming, like you said, and using your strategy to compete.
Strategy is extremely important. So I talk to my students when they want to compete, and I tell them all the time. It's like, again, it's being good in the gym is different than being good at jiu-jitsu too. Because like being good in the gym, come on, you're going against most people that train in the gym. They work a 9 to 5. Probably didn't play many sports. They're not very athletic. They're like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, if you're the gym hero, good job. That like, there's better people out there, right? And then you have competition, local competition, right? And there's some good people that show up there. And then you have like ADCC level, whole different breeds, right? And it's like, so like you might be a local tournament, and then all of a sudden you go against Craig Jones, and you're like, yo, I don't know anything. What is this? Guy's a beast, you know? So strategizing is important, especially with points. When there's no points involved, you can play the game of jiu-jitsu. The guy passed your guard, it's okay. You can go with that. But like, for example, I'll use a scenario that we've been talking about recently is the guillotine. Guillotine is a phenomenal move, right? It's a great move. Everybody's going to have their thoughts on it. Here's mine is like, it's a great move, but it's risky. Because if it fails, you might be on bottom. So if you take top turtle and you snag a guillotine in and you go for it and this dude's head pops out, you might be on bottom in a risk of a guard pass, you know, and now you have to fight your way back up. Where, so I tell students, I'm like, you can break the rules if you know the rules. When you go for a guillotine, you better have the meanest guillotine in jiu-jitsu. If you don't
want to lose it.
Yeah, if you don't, go to the guy's back and choke him there. It's like, it's just so much safer. It's just so much safer, you know. Takedowns, white belts that never wrestled, I don't tell them to go for many takedowns. They're like, what takedown should I do? What takedown should I do? I'm like, don't. I'm like, you're not that guy. Like, hand fight, head fight. Don't do anything stupid. The first 2 minutes, just feel them out. I'm telling you, it's like at local tournaments, most white belts are gonna be dumb and shoot a double leg, and they're gonna try to do some crazy tackle. I was like, it's easier to stop a takedown than it is to do a takedown. I was like, so you're not that good at takedowns yet, so just hand fight. Now, if you think you can reach and pick a leg up, like snag single or something, bro, go for it. But don't step in for some uchimata or some throw that you're not that good at yet, man. Like, what are you doing? You know, and then you can
put yourself in a bad position.
Yeah, you gotta know your skill set, you know. And white belts, my white belt should not be doing berimbolo. You're a white belt. Don't do that, you know. All these crazy guard passes, let the black belts do that. They have enough fundamentals where they can do those moves. You don't yet. Keep it simple.
No, we see a lot of people go on YouTube and they search for. I think that's the process, right? I ask people a lot. Hey, what do you do after class? So they come, they train, and they train after they get home. They go to YouTube and watch videos. Yeah. Because like, hey, I'm struggling with this, and they go back to YouTube.
There's so much content out there.
Yeah, but forget YouTube if you're starting jiu-jitsu, guys. Focus on listening to your mentor, which is your professor, your coach. You know, I think the best option is you can go out there and watch stuff, but don't focus on that. Focus on listening to your coach. Yeah. He would know the best for you because he sees you. He sees your body type. He sees your body style. If you go on YouTube, you'll see like Musa Messi doing some technique. It's like, all right, I want to do that, but you're like 250. You know, like 5'6". You know, like that's it's not the best for you. You know, you gotta listen to you always have to listen to your professor, to your coaches. You know, but it's extremely important when you
what's good with your coach, YouTube's great. I've learned tons off of YouTube, and now you have all these instructionals, Danaher DVDs, Gordon DVD, all these things out there that are amazing content. But here's the thing, I don't tell people don't watch YouTube, don't watch videos, don't go out there and expose yourself to everything. But there's gonna be one thing that's true is you can't, in that video of Gordon Ryan, you can't ask Gordon Ryan, hey, can you do this on me real quick so I can feel it? Hey, what happens if the guy does this? Or, hey, I tried that move this week and this guy did this reaction. In the video, you don't show me what to do. Why is that happening? You don't know that stuff. So you got to go catch him in a seminar somewhere and remember that and try to bring it up, right? But your coach does. If you come, for example, like when I do arm bars, I like to Kimura grip the arm bar. So when I do arm bars, I like to Kimura grip the arm bar. Whereas another way to hold the arm bar is through the spider web where you hug the leg. So my students will come to me like, oh, this guy is always, this guy always pulls his elbow out from my arm bars. And I'm like, okay, well, show me what you're doing. And then they show this way, and I'm like, it's a good way, but that's not how I hold. I was like, the Kimura grip I hold so they don't yet pull their elbow out. Now, which one is the right one? Both of them are right. Whatever one you practice the most, you're going to be good at. But it's like each one is going to have pros and cons. Have you ever met Dave Jacobs? So he passed away some years ago.
I never trained with him or anything, but I know Abimar used to teach at his school.
So he was a cool guy. He did a seminar up in Owings Mills Ground Control once, and I went to him and we were talking about arm crushes, the reverse arm lock, and my instructor Rocky would always show gable grip to finish the arm crush. How do you finish the arm crush? Do you gable grip? Do you go elbow?
What is arm crush?
The reverse arm lock from the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you pinch it in your ear and you attack it. Are you following?
From the guard?
Yeah. Yes. Do you gable grip to finish that?
Usually, I can connect over. I can hug like this.
Okay, so you do a bit of both.
Both. Yeah.
So Rocky was like, do this, and me as a white belt, like you got to know your skill. That's a great move, but it's hard to do for white belts. White belts, they don't quite learn it yet. You'll learn it around like blue or purple. You'll be good, start becoming good at it. But like white belts, I didn't really understand it. Dave Jacobs talked about grabbing it with his hands, and that solved the problem of people turning their thumb up, is you could rotate the elbow. And I was like, wow, I have more control now, but I'm not strong enough. And then Marcelo Garcia on his YouTube video goes elbow through. So that's when I started tapping everybody. I love the reverse arm lock. So that's when I started tapping people. I was like, man, I scrape here. Might use my hand if I need to, but my elbow is going to come in for the finish.
Tight.
Yeah, and I asked Dave Jacobs, I said, Dave, my instructor says this. You say this. Marcelo does this. Which one's the right one? I was like a 4-stripe white belt. I was like, which one's the right one? He's like, Stephen, they're all the right one. I'm like, well, that's not the answer I want. What should I be doing? He's like, here's the thing. He was like, whatever move you practice the most, whatever detail, you're going to eventually become pretty good at it. But if your instructor does this and you start doing this, your instructor is not going to know the answers to your opponent's reactions in some areas. For example, when I go here and he goes to pull his arm out, I arm drag it. It's kind of awkward to arm drag when you have it in this scenario, but you have other transitions, and that's what's so great about jiu-jitsu. There's so many different ways to do things. But to go back to my ADHD kicked in. So to go back on topic is YouTube's great, but you can't ask YouTube questions. Your instructor can. And then, like you said, body types. YouTube, the videos that are the most popular on YouTube are usually the lowest percentage moves.
Yeah.
There's something wild. You get white belts coming in there doing rubber guard. I'm like, why are you doing rubber guard? Like, again, you're 250. Why are you doing rubber guard, bro? You're not that guy, man. Lay on him. Get on top.
Sure.
You got a guy with short legs doing triangles.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I'm trying to work on this triangle choke. Like, you're not triangle choking anybody, bro. You got tree trunk legs. Not happening.
I've seen that happening many times. When you try to do a move that might not be the best for you at that time. Like that's why I always tell myself, like, it works, but maybe not the best for you right now.
Yeah. Yep.
It will work. It works that way, but maybe that's right now. This might be the best option for you to start working on. Yeah,
we had Phil Cardella come by 2 days ago, Monday, for a seminar. He's a Helson black belt from Florida, fought MMA. Really nice guy. I really like his teaching because he's he'll show the move, but then he'll show like a concept and just kind of let your brain kind of start playing with it. But then he does a really good job at teaching people how to teach. So when he came in yesterday, and I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm curious what you got. When Phil came in, I like to always ask students or instructors when they come by. I say, hey, what's like something like a phrase you got that helps with new students or helps people get better, or what is like a good thing that you like to tell new students, like when they're coming in to help them get better. For example, like what I like to do is I talk about, we said this earlier before off camera, is escaping positions. I tell people when they're new, I'm like, look, the goal of escaping positions is achieving inside frames. I have to, if you're in side control, I don't hug you. You can break the rules if you know the rules. You don't know the rules yet, so you need to create space. You need to frame. You need to get structures in. That is going to be the goal of almost everything in jiu-jitsu. Punch defense. You need your hands on the inside to be able to stop the guy from attacking your face. trying to do arm bars. Like if that guy gets an inside position on your arm, well, we're in problems. If I can hide my arm and have the inside position, I'm safe, right? Back escapes. Okay, if he gets a seatbelt, I'm in trouble. If I can protect and get my hands on the inside, it's going to be harder for him to finish, right? Well, Phil, what he said that was pretty cool is he said a couple things, but one of them is he said, go at the speed of what you can think. So that helps with people that are spazzy. He's like, you're going too fast. If you can't think that fast, you're not that good yet. Go at the speed of what you can think. Second thing is he said, he used this when he was teaching, he was like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 difficulty techniques. The arm crush, what would you say? Maybe like level 3, level 4 difficulty. An Americana, level 1. Everybody can learn the. We teach it to the 5-year-olds. Very easy, very easy. Rear choke, level 1. Guillotine, level 1. Flying triangle, level 10. You're like, you're not doing that yet, bro. You know, rolling, all Imanari rolls, all this stuff, level 10, right? So like, you shouldn't have a white belt going for Imanari rolls. First off, they can't heel hook anyways. So.
Yeah, for me, trust the process and stay consistent. That's the most important we need to know. Because you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu if you do that.
That's what you like telling your students? Trust the process, stay
consistent. Trust the
consistent.
process and stay consistent.
How often a week do you recommend students to train?
Twice a week.
Yeah.
For a busy family, busy, like person, usually, like people that train with us, around us, they have, they got
other lives.
a lot of things going on at work.
Mm-hmm.
They have family, they have kids, right? A wife, a dog, so I think trying to push them to come 5 times a week, it's
too much.
If you come twice a week, or be consistent. Maybe your consistency is once a week, every other week, once every other week.
Yeah.
Just be consistent with what you can, But sometimes you can come 5 times a week. Come 5 times a week, but don't get discouraged when you cannot do 5 times a week anymore, and then people usually quit. They do 5 times a week and they do once a week now, and they quit because they don't think they're progressing, right?
Yeah.
But I tell people all the time. People come back, JP, I'm glad you told me that. Come 5 times a week. You can now, cool. Life will change. When you cannot come 5 times a week, come consistent once a week if you can, twice a week. Just stay consistent.
Keep going
throughout the course, because in the end of the journey, if my process, which I believe I can help people to achieve their goals technically in life, will work. You just got to stay throughout the course. That's basically it. I think being consistent is everything.
Yeah.
And which is a little bit harder to the new generation, because so many things going on. ADHD.
Yeah.
I probably have it too, because I'm
we all got it.
We
all got it.
Yeah, maybe that's the millennial thing, right?
But so here's you know who Eric Thomas is? He's a motivational speaker. So when you talk on consistency, it's so true. It's everything. It's everything. Consistency. Just be consistent. Be consistent. You don't have to be 5 days a week world champion right now, right? And you can't compare yourself to other people. Comparison is the thief of joy. So like Eric Thomas, he said to get his 4-year degree, his bachelor degree, to get his 4-year degree, it took him 10 years. It could maybe been a little bit more. I'm not sure I could be butchering it, but he was just showing us it took me 10 years. But consistency is what he went with. He was like, you could look at some people and be like, yo, they got their 4-year degree in 3 years. They got their 4-year degree in 4. They're on track. But he's like, look, I can't. He was homeless at the time and he was still going to school. But he was like, I can only do X amount of time. That's okay. You put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going forward. You just don't stop. You'll eventually be there. It might be longer, but who cares?
You'll make it.
Everybody's journey is different. And it brings one to this conversation. This would be a good topic. Do you know what the Blue Belt Blues are?
The people that leaves?
Kinda.
They school? Like when they get the blue belt, they quit?
Yeah. So they call it the Blue Belt Blues. When I explain to students, I tell them the Blue Belt Blues. So I have a belief on why people quit, but I want to hear yours first, and then I'll say mine. But the Blue Belt Blues, I tell all the students this is a time where usually happens at Blue Belt, where you feel like you're not really getting better. Class seems a little dull. You're not as excited anymore. It's it's repetitive, and then they get their that achievement of that blue belt where they're like, yeah, I worked so hard for this, 2 years, I got it. And then you're like, now what? I gotta do it again for purple, and then they start to fall off. So why do you think? Because it's statistically shown, most people quit jiu-jitsu in the first 3 months of training and at blue belt. People don't quit at 4-stripe white belt, usually, right? Why? Because they see
They're motivated.
Yeah, they see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm right there, blue belt, I'm gonna get it. But nobody quits at black belt, right? And once you get to purple, not many people quit past purple. They're like, yeah, we already
They're so invested.
Yeah. I can't quit now, bro. If I'm so far into it, I gotta keep going. But blue belt, why do you think most people quit at blue belt, that blue belt blues phase?
For what I've seen throughout the years, lack of motivation. In my point of view, is not only because of that, is because of they need to understand where they are. You're blue belt, man. You're 50-year-old blue belt. Maybe you're gonna get that white belt wrestler, and they start beating you up. And you're gonna get a blue belt that's going to beat you up, and you're gonna get a purple belt that's going to beat you up. You get to a point where I'm a blue belt, but everybody's kicking my butt.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, and I try to tell my students, I have something like, I have so many blue belts. I was like, guys, I'm trying to make you all quit. You should quit. You're like, you're against the statistics. Like, I want you guys, like, sometimes I have a line of blue belts, like, leave. Man, I'm trying to make you guys quit. Come on, you better quit. So I make this joke because, we're kind of the opposite face, because, I think that I try to do is, I try to show them what they need to do to achieve their next goal, right? They need to have this minimum amount of class, class and time. It's like going to school. You get a college degree. Man, if you do your best, what is the max amount you're gonna get? You're gonna achieve be a doctor. All right, man. You can be the best ever, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. All right. That's what it takes. So what do you need to do to get there? So I try to break the process and tell them, hey, to be a black belt, you need to do this. But you have the steps, white, then you go here, then blue. Then I try to show the process so they know the long journey, the long term. They don't get stuck where they are. Yeah. They can see where they're going to, And I think this really helps, That's
So you think people quit just because of just lack of
motivation and injuries.
Okay. See, injuries being a big one. Yeah.
Injuries and lack of motivation, but because
what do you think? Why do people feel their lack of motivation?
Because they're getting beat up by everybody.
Okay, so you think that? Okay.
Like from the white to black, so they are blue belt. You think,
but they were fine at white belt though.
Because you don't have pressure.
Okay.
There's no pressure on the white belt.
Yeah.
Everybody should be the white belt.
Yeah.
But when you see the white belts beating the blue belts, when you don't explain them,
you're confused.
Prepare them mentally, man, remember where you are, who you are, what are you here for?
Yeah.
Like, you're not here to win.
It's so funny. To learn. It's so funny because people start jiu-jitsu, like, this is a saying, you didn't start because of the belt, don't quit because of the belt kind of thing. And it's so funny, like, you start jiu-jitsu for whatever reason it might be. It might be self-defense, it might be fitness, it might be hobby, therapeutic, depression, whatever. And then people lose train of why they thought. Remember why you started. People lose train. They're like, oh, well, I'm losing to this guy. It's like, you were here for weight loss. Are you still losing weight? Yeah, you're good, bro. What do you mean? Or therapy. They're like, oh, I was here for therapy. And like I started for depression. I was very upset and crazy. And jiu-jitsu gave me that outlet, that escape, right? So white belt, you're losing, no pressure. Blue belt, it was tough because you're like, white belt taps you. Man, everybody saw that. When you're a purple belt and the lower belts tap you, when you're the instructor, this was the worst. When you're the instructor of the class, and I got a little story about this. When you're an instructor of the class and you get tapped by one of the students and everybody sees it, your ego hurts so much. You're like, oh God, what is this? This was at ground control, and when I was teaching, when I was running that school, I was, I think, a purple belt, and so when I used to teach, I used to use I'm gonna call it 100% words, where it's like, oh, if I do this, he can't get out. If I do this, there's no way he escapes, kind of stuff. And now when I teach, I never say, I say everything percentages. I'm like, if I do this, he's going to have a harder time getting out. Nothing's guaranteed, though. There's no perfect move. If there was a perfect move, it'd be the only thing that we do. But unfortunately, everything has a counter, and there's so many
That's
factors.
the game. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Try to consistently improve. And
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of class, and I don't remember what move. I think it was like a Kimura grip from like the arm bar or something like that. But I had this, and I was like, when I'm holding this, I was like, look, and this guy, he can't get out of this position. I was like, go ahead, try to escape, and the dude escapes in front of the whole class. Everybody's sitting on the wall all watching, and I was like, my ego hurt so bad. I was like, do it again. I wasn't ready. Do it again. And I try, and then he escapes again, and I was like, dude, like I went home and like I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, what the heck? Like, and it's like, and I knew in my mind that the move was never 100%, but like, why was I articulating it to the students as if I was trying to make them just believe in the move, And I was like, so that like, dude, that broke my ego so bad. So that's why now, like when I teach, again, ADHD sidetracked, but that's why now when I teach, I'm always just like, everything's like, hey, like if I'm blocking the hip here, very hard for the guy to do that. If he puts me in the triangle, if I keep my posture, very hard for him to lock it. He's gonna have a hard time pulling me down, but still some people can.
Yeah.
Still things can happen, So he mounts you. If I frame in the mount, very hard for him to stop me from escaping. People still can, So here's what I think. Let me hear what you think about this. So, are you familiar with the chemicals in the brain?
Mm-hmm.
Like dopamine and oxytocin and all that? Okay, so for those at home that aren't, the main ones that we try to focus on when we teach, and the main ones I try to focus on when I'm like trying to pay attention to the students is cortisol, oxytocin, dopamine. Of course endorphins, but you're going to get that naturally through class. But dopamine, what is dopamine? Dopamine is the addiction chemical in the brain that you get when you're gambling, right? Oxytocin, and to go back on dopamine, that's more of like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? So every roll when you're a white belt, it's like dopamine.
It's like what easy.
Social
what
media.
People are doing with the social media.
Exactly. It is. What am I going to see next? What am I going to see? Yep. Good and bad. It's like, but in class, it's like when the white belt hits his first Americana, his first submission, mad dopamine. Dude, he is so pumped. He's happy for the next like 2 months. He's like, I did an Americana. He's thinking about it at home. He's like thinking about it. He's like drilling the Americana and stuff like that. He's so ecstatic. He's happy as hell, right? Then there's oxytocin. So oxytocin is complimenting. So if I go to you and I'm saying, hey JP, amazing pass. I love what you just did. Amazing pass. That would be oxytocin, right? And then the second one, or the third one would be cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. So if I go to you and I'm like, hey, no, that's wrong, JP. That's wrong. That would be cortisol. So of course with kids, try to avoid cortisol at all costs. So you do hidden correction. Like for example, for kids, if a kid is C-clamping when he should be monkey gripping, I'll go over and be like, hey, I was like, nice grip here. Let me see you put the thumb over there. Oh, that's better for you, man. Do that, bro. I want to demonstrate real quick. Show me that move. Let me see you do that with that monkey grip. Look at you, bro. And now I'm giving him some oxytocin too. So I give him oxytocin, eliminated the cortisol. He never had any. Instead of going over and be like, no, don't do that. Do this. Now that kid's like, I'm not very good at it. Now with adults are kids too, just with jobs. So some adults can take that type of coaching. A wrestler that's been wrestling his whole life, hey, don't do this. You need to put your hand right here. He might be able to take that. But somebody who doesn't have as much confidence, you can't do that yet. You give him too much oxytocin, or you give him too much cortisol, he might quit. He might go home, and the thing is too, like, so this is a crazy thought, but it really makes me think more about the students. So I started jiu-jitsu for depression, right? There have been plenty of times where myself, other people that they're so depressed at home, and they're like, dude, if I stay here, I don't know what's gonna happen. This is bad. This is a bad environment for me. I need to get out of the house. I need to go train jiu-jitsu and be around some other people, and we'll see if that makes me happy, right? So I know this has happened before, but because it's happened, it makes me think about what if a student came to class, he was really depressed, he was thinking about X, right?
Yeah.
And came to class and I gave him cortisol. And now he goes home man, he's already filled with
You don't
cortisol.
know, yeah.
I might be that reason, right? I can't live with myself like that. But if he comes to class and I go and I give him oxytocin, and I'm like, hey man, you're doing a great job, bro. You do like, I'm loving how you're doing this. I'm loving like, and then all of a sudden the guy goes, man, you know, maybe I do have a purpose. Maybe I do like these guys, man. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing. And then he comes back tomorrow, and then you do it again. And then he comes back the next day, and the next day, the next day, and then he comes back to you 2 years later, and he tells you the story about how he didn't want to live with himself, but he chose to because of jiu-jitsu. How jiu-jitsu changed his life. Now he's a testimonial, right? So like,
I have people coming.
yeah, there's a lot of people train for depression. A lot of people.
Afterwards, they're like, JP, thank you. I was like, for what? Man, you saved my life. I was like, what? I was like in a bad position in life, you know, like things were happening. I thought I would, you know, then jiu-jitsu changed our purpose. It changed my purpose after hearing stories like that.
Yeah,
because
this is about the blue belt.
You know,
Look, we'll keep talking about this for a second. This is the blue belt blues. I'm going to talk about the blue belt blues, but say what you're just about to say. It changed your purpose.
It changed the purpose as a professor.
You start looking at jiu-jitsu almost different.
It is different, you know. It changed my purpose when I moved to the U.S., but when you start hearing stories like, hey, I'm not teaching technique. I'm using jiu-jitsu as a way to change people's lives.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is the platform.
We're a gateway to jiu-jitsu.
You know, jiu-jitsu is the platform, but we're way beyond learning an armbar. Way beyond grappling, way beyond getting a gold medal, you know.
Yeah, the white belts think it's just the arm bar. No,
it's way beyond. We think way far ahead, you know. Like we teach the technique, but jiu-jitsu is an excuse to bring people to a place where we try to develop each other for a positive goal, you know. So it really changed the way.
Absolutely. So to go into that blue belt blues, so talking about the chemicals of the brain, what you just said, a purpose. So when you're a white belt, again, you get the Americana, like dopamine, right? You do the elbow escape, you do the scissor sweep first time, double ankle sweep first time, your first clean double leg, dopamine. When you start getting to your blue belt, it's, you know, you get dopamine, but like an Americana, it's not really like, yeah, Americana, cool. Armbar, yeah, cool. Scissor sweep, cool. Purple belt, you really don't. Like, black belt, I could tap at all my students with all the cool submissions. I don't really get dopamine from any of those submissions at all. I don't really get dopamine. Where would I get dopamine? Okay, in that kind of context, I get dopamine, but a different format. But where do I get dopamine? Let's say you and I roll and I catch you in an armbar. I might feel a little good. I'm like, dang, I tapped JP. Oh my God, like now I feel good. But how often is that going to happen? Never. That rarely ever. So I can't rely my training on that dopamine. When you're new, that dopamine takes over so much, and you get accustomed to that feeling. At blue belt, you lose that feeling, that dopamine feeling. Then that's where I think a lot of people they're like, well, people come to class and they're like, oh man, we're doing the elbow escape again. Elbow escape, scissor sweep, elbow escape, butterfly sweep, these same moves. I already know these moves. But then they roll and they're not getting better. Or they feel they're not getting better. Right? You're getting better every day, but they feel they're not getting better. And then what ends up happening is the student develops cortisol in training. So they're training, but they're getting frustrated because they're not learning new moves. Like when they were a white belt, every move was new. When you're a blue belt, you're not learning new moves. You might learn a few little new things here and there, but like you've seen it before. Right? Maybe some new details. But then you start but then you're still wondering why you're losing. And you're like, well, I still can't. I'm trying the move of the day, JP. It's not working, bro. It's not working. So then that guy goes home with cortisol. And the more he goes home with cortisol, before he's even coming to jiu-jitsu, hey, you know, it's Wednesday. I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu tonight. He's thinking cortisol already. Man, I'm just not really good at it. And if you're a student and you fall in that trap, you will quit. You're going to quit if you fall in that cortisol trap. So, like, you have to... That's where you have to, like, you know, your purpose changes. So, like I tell the students, like, where I get cortisol or where I get dopamine is from teaching. When I see my student do a pass I taught, I get so excited. I'm like, yes, I'm jumping around. I'm like, that's where my dopamine comes in, right? It's like where I get my, and then on top of that, you have to always sit back and reflect. You have to always sit back and just think about your life. Why did you start? You know, what are you getting out of here? So I tell all the students, I was like, look, the goal to to get into black belt, the goal for longevity in jiu-jitsu, all that stuff, is this. Consistency, like you said. You just need to keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Second thing, smile and laugh. Yeah. And then the third thing, open yourself up to the community. If you come into class and you shelter yourself away and you go and you take class and you go home, that's difficult, because then every day you face that anxiety of, I don't know anybody. It's easier to go to a school, to go to a place when you know everybody, right? I went from, when I was at ground control, man, when I left ground control when you were there and I went to Rising Tide, mm-hmm. It was a hard transition for me because I didn't know anybody. I was like, man, I'm not really like, who do I ask to roll? Like, I'm not like talking, whereas like we would end class and we would sit there, me, you, and Ryan Mason and everybody, and would just talk for hours just about random stuff. And I wasn't getting that at first. So I started sheltering myself from everybody. But that didn't make anything better. That made it more difficult. When I finally started opening up and just started making friends, it got much better. For example, I have a student, Shay, and she's one of my favorite students. Hopefully all my students don't get upset about that, but she's one of my favorite students. She tried jiu-jitsu for like a month or two and then fell out of the rhythm because she didn't feel she was learning it. It was overwhelming. It was a culture shock. She didn't open herself up to the community, and she stopped. And if I believe correctly, she wanted to cancel her membership. And I got her back on the mats. She came back in and she took the class, and then she started falling into the addiction of jiu-jitsu. She's like, wow, this is good. And she came to me one time. She's like, man, I really love this stuff. And now she's starting to have friends on the mats and everything. And she made that jump to opening herself up to the community. Hey, let me ask some people their names. Let me talk to some people. Let me not just show up, train, go home, and say nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, let me make some friends here, because those friends, when you miss a week,
they would reach out.
They reach out. Hey, where you been? Everything okay? Oh man, dude, I've just been busy at work. Well, you coming tonight? Yeah, I'll come. And maybe you wanted to go, but the hardest part of training is getting there. The hardest part. You ever read the book, The Kaizen Way?
I don't know. Maybe
I'm gonna butcher.
Sometimes the words in the Portuguese, the culture might be different. The words. So
The Kaizen Way is it's a book that my friend Chapman, one of my students, he just moved out to Hawaii, but Chapman put me on. And I'm gonna butcher this book entirely. It's been a while since I've checked it out. But the story about the Kaizen Way, essentially, it's about making little changes in life opposed to big changes all at once. When you make a big change all at once, for example, let's say you're 300 pounds and you want to lose weight, and you're just like, you go cold turkey, I'm going strict diet, going to the gym every day, all that. That's very hard to do. That's very hard. You culture shock, your body shuts down, you go through depression. Very, very hard to do. So the book, essentially, I'm going to butcher the story. It's like, let's just say the guy there, he's 420 pounds. He wants to lose a bunch of weight. He's like, man, I got to... Doctor, he goes to doctor, hey, Dr. JP, I want to lose a bunch of weight. What do I do? He's like, okay, well, tell me about your life. What do you do? He's like, well, I just watch TV all day and I eat McDonald's. He's like, okay. He's like, so what do I do? I start meal prepping and don't go to McDonald's, go to the gym. He's like, I'm afraid to go to the gym because I don't want people to, like, you know, I'm fat.
Embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed. Yeah, I don't want people to see it. And so the doctor was like, no, it's okay. He's like, keep eating McDonald's. He's like, well, keep eating McDonald's. He's like, keep eating McDonald's. So right now, during the commercials, I just want you to do jumping jacks in place. Can you do that for me? And you come back in a week during the commercials, just jog in place, jumping jacks, just do that. 1 week goes by, he comes back to the doctor. He's like, doctor, I didn't lose any weight, man. Like, what you said isn't working. And he's like, no, it's okay. He's like, and you're telling me to eat McDonald's? He's like, it's okay, just trust the process. Trust the process. Listen to your coach. And so he goes, tell me about your experience. Did you do the jumping jacks? He said, I did the jumping jacks. In fact, I actually did the jumping jacks through the whole episode too, not just the commercial. He's like, oh, great. Okay, so this next week, what I want you to do is keep going to McDonald's, but just take the top bun and throw it in the trash. That's it. Just the top bun, throw it in the trash. But you can have McDonald's. And then week goes by, recycle. Next thing, take the bottom bun. Another week goes by. Okay, this time, pour half the drink out. Next time, pour half the fry. You see where the trend's going? So he's like little small changes. And then he goes, he's like, doctor, man, he's starting to lose some weight. He sees the numbers. He said, doctor, like, so I want to go to the gym. How do I how do I do that? I think I'm ready to go. Like, how do I do that? Because now the student's starting to get the trust of the doctor. So he's like, so now what do I do? He's like, I want you to drive to the gym, but don't go in, just go home. I said, what? But that doesn't help me lose weight, dude. Just trust the process. Drive to the gym, and then go home. Can you do that for me? Yeah, I can do that. A week later, comes back, how'd it go? He said, well, I drove to the gym, but I realized I was there already, so I just went in. He's like, well, what'd you do with your workout? Tell me about your workout. Well, I did the same process you told me. Little things. He's like, so what I did is I went in there, and I just rode the bike for 15 minutes and went home. And then the next day I rode the bike for 20 minutes, went home. The next day, I ended up staying there for an hour. And I actually got into some weights and started doing some stuff. I started watching other people working out, and I would repeat their stuff. He's like, and then all of a sudden, like that whole train of thought, the whole like practice of just like those little victories. He's like, oh, next week comes in. He's like, okay, well now we're gonna get you off the McDonald's. He's like, oh doctor, I'm already off the McDonald's. What do you are? He's like, yeah. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, I started making chicken, rice, broccoli, and I just have McDonald's twice a week now. Eventually, I'll cut it out. Little victories. And I was like, and that's so like using that in so many other aspects of your life. Studying. If you have to study for school, audibles. Like, so Mike, owner of Rising Tide, right? Mike's a big mentor to me. Mike, like, he gets me on these audibles, and I have a hard time sometimes listening to him because I think I have to sit through the whole audible. And I'm like, no, I don't have to do that. So before I go to bed, 15 minutes, play it. Or when I'm driving, put it on. Drive it 10 minutes, play it. Those 10 minutes add up. When you drive, if it takes you 10 minutes to drive to the gym or to the academy, 10 minutes back, that's 20 minutes. You just listen to 20 minutes of an educational book. That also changes your mood for the rest of the day. You're now looking for progression. You're trying to get better because you did something. They say the most important task in your day is making your bed. You make your bed first, and all of a sudden you go. So I'm trying to add that to it. Are there days I forget? No, my bed's a mess right now. but I'll go home and I'll fix it before my wife gets home, right? But
no, yeah, I use Audible too. I like listening to books, when I'm not doing any hard tasks.
Yeah, I hate reading.
To put it on, and while I'm doing something, trying to be learn.
Yeah, I hate reading. Like reading, can't do it. Audibles, I can do it all day.
Yeah,
I hate reading, man. I start falling asleep. I'll read something. I have no idea what I read.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Kaká, você troca, por favor. And you said you had ADHD, right?
I mean, I don't know if I do. Like my brother.
You're self-diet.
I guess, yeah. my brother was on medication and stuff, and like my parents never tested me when I was younger. But like, if you know me, I've got ADHD,
I think
bro.
The millennials, right? This new generation might be even more, right?
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
So many are going on,
Absolutely.
so many options. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had to, at least I had to, wait for that show at that time, and that's it. If you miss it, you're done.
Yeah.
That was for me. You gotta be at this 10 p.m. in front of the TV and watch it. Otherwise, you can't watch it again.
No more, yeah.
Like that was how I grew up. Unfortunately, we didn't have as much option as we have nowadays. The bored. Everything's easier to be bored.
Yeah.
I feel, because I feel bored sometimes with things, and then I think that's one thing for our generation. I think you had the internet, I think, earlier on.
Yeah. I think we're like. I think
in
older
Brazil,
than you, right? How old are you?
I'm 32.
32. Okay, so we're the same age. I'm 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you had a tech. I don't even remember when I started internet. Maybe 2002, 1. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I was.
Internet?
I want to say it was before that. I want to say like I remember getting on the internet, and if anybody in chat gets it, Neopets. Neopets.com is a website I used to get on and play. It was awesome. But Neopets, and I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8. So that was like 1997, 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I started.
That's like when I started getting on. Like
2000.
you got AOL, and like you'd be like. you go to sign on and your mom's on the phone, and then Stephen, get off the phone. Like, oh crap, no, can we get off this? No. We had LimeWire and Napster, and we're downloading all the wrong things we shouldn't have, getting viruses on our computer.
The music, right? All kind of, and also, for us it was limited. We only could use after midnight to 6 a.m. in the weekdays, and then on the weekends, it was like that. Otherwise, if you open internet before that time, outside of that time, you would pay like crazy,
more money,
way more.
Interesting.
So that was, I don't. Maybe the older guys here might have that, because I know like we're a little bit behind in technology, compared to the US, because things get here and then start going that way. And I think that's the internet. I remember when we called it discada, from the computer, from the phone. That one. Did you have open any time for you?
Yeah,
you could use any time.
We could, for internet we could get on any time. Now for like phones, like cell phones, that's where things were like. I know like Verizon had this whole thing like after 9 o'clock it was free. So like you get
they had that too.
Unlimited calls and texts after 9 o'clock. So like somebody call you 8:50, you're like, call me 10 minutes, and then you go. I remember when I was very young. This is how like my mom would let me go hang out with some friends to say around like the Safeway area, the grocery store, wherever, skateboarding, whatever. The way I would reach out to my mom and have her come pick me up, because I didn't have a cell phone at the time, so we used a payphone. But you didn't want to pay money for someone, because if you took a collect call, it was a lot. So I was like, no way. So when you make a collect call, you pick the cell phone up, and you're like, okay, hey, let me make this. And you do it because they ask you, tell your name. So that way when my mom picks the phone up, it's going to say who it is, and then if she accepts it, it's going to cost her money. If she declines, it doesn't cost her anything. So you had like 3 seconds. So when that 3 seconds, hey, Mom, it's Steven, come pick me up. And that was your name. So that was our way of communicating through the payphone.
We had that in Brazil too. Like I would call you, but you wouldn't have that. Like you just, hey man, how you doing? And then you're like, hey, I'm doing fine. How you doing? It's like, cool. Hey, what are you doing today? We're gonna sometimes talk to people for hours, just like
little 3 seconds.
3 seconds. That's funny. Like same things happen. Like the LAN party, like I was to go to a place where you pay per hour.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
And play with people. Counter-Strike usually. I was not really good at it. I pretend I am with the kids nowadays. Like I was really good at Counter-Strike, but I wasn't that
Probably
good.
Still better than them. No, yeah. There was a lot of places like that, especially here in Colombia. There was a lot of places we go, pay per hour, and they'd have all the computers all set up.
Connected together.
Yeah.
How do you call LAN parties too? Coffee, something.
It's kind of like a LAN party. Yeah, I don't really know. They're like gaming zones.
We call LAN house in Brazil. House.
If I were to, that sounds way better to call it a LAN house, because to me a LAN party is like me, you, and a bunch of friends. We all got together at my house, went to the basement, set up equipment. Bring all the equipment, set it up, and we'll just play all night. To me that was a LAN party, And that's where I was saying, like, you either do it with your friends or you do it with the competitors, the pro players. And then when you're doing that, you're just doing, it's practice. You're full on going.
I see. And they're saying here, hey, you guys, old school. Hey, let me know if you guys have any old school, maybe before our generation. If you guys are more mature than us, what you guys had, something that we didn't have as a millennials, in the 90s. What was the big thing in the 80s? So let us know if you guys have any memory about that time. I know Will Caswell. Ron, Ray, shout out to Ron, Ray, Will, everybody commenting here, guys. Thank you for the comments. Yeah, I think that's the time. What do you see with the, let's go now, we're talking about the millennials, right, the generation. How do you see the new generation?
Oh man, I mean, who am I to to really voice an
You
opinion
deal
on
with
it.
many kids. You
Yeah.
you have your point.
I would like it's weird. So it really falls it really falls on the parents. I see kids that are with like very strict parents and stuff, and the kids are fine. And I see kids that are with parents where the parents let the kids get away with excuses and let the parents get on the games all the time. And it's not that I think the games are necessarily bad. I don't think gaming is bad. I think the lack of control from the parent for the game is bad. When a kid starts getting addicted to that game, that parent needs to be a parent, step in and start to pull them off. So that's where like you can let them. Hey, I played games my entire time coming up. That's all I did. Like, I mean, I'm talking about like 8 to 12 hours straight of just gaming, which is crazy, you know. And so it's like, but some of these kids, like, I don't know. When I was younger, we went out and played with friends. At some point, at some point, like, you know, you played your games too. But like the full on gaming experience where you could stay in your house for that 8 to 12 hours didn't really kick in till later. Till I was a little bit starting to get older. I had games when I was younger, like we had Xbox Live and stuff like that. But like even before Xbox Live, man, even playing on PlayStation, we used to not have a thing called a memory card.
That's right.
We used to like, you had to leave the game on. If you turned the game off, you lost all progression. There was no memory card. Let me save this. I'll come back to it later. It was like, nope, you just do that. So it was like you would borrow your friend's memory card. Hey man, my PlayStation's been on for like 3 days. Can I borrow your memory card so I can save it and then turn it on? You know, when that was a thing, but at some point that wasn't. So like you just left things on. That was a harder time to spend 8 to 12 hours straight playing a game. 8 to 12 hours straight playing a game, you usually beat the game. Now some of these games, like you got games like, you know, World of Warcraft and these other MMOs and these other like competitive shooters online that you can literally just play non-stop all the time because like it doesn't end. There's always something more to work on, and then they keep releasing new DLCs, always something more to work on. So when I was younger, there was a lot more in-face social interaction, meaning like if somebody didn't like you, you had to deal with it. You couldn't block them. You couldn't send them a message. You couldn't yell curse words at them or whatever you want, insults. And if you did, you got punched. And you learned how to be a human. And I feel like that, like the current culture of gaming, people can do that. You can go into a gaming, somebody you don't like, and you can start crap talking them all day long. Say all the bad things in the world, and there's no repercussions. I think that's bad. Like at some point, you become an adult, and you think that carries on. You say it to somebody else, and then he beats you up. He punches you in your mouth. You're like, oh crap! Oh, I'm gonna sue you. It's like, well, like, come on, man! Like, take some self accountability. Maybe you shouldn't be a bad guy. You should learn better. So I think some kids just like that are more awkward. I guess if I were to say anything,
we can pull too.
The kids are more awkward because of like the
social. You mean?
Yeah, the social cues and stuff like that. But like I said, I know kids that they're like normal and they're good kids and they play video games. So I go up to the parents. I like to go up to the parents that have like, when the kids are extremely good kids, I'll ask the parent, I go, hey, what's the secret to being a parent? And so it's like hardest thing, what's the secret? And one parent said this, it was Christine. She had 2 kids in our program. Kids were like perfect kids. Like they were just like they were smart, like for their age, like well more mature for their age. Yeah, they were smart, they were polite. But and then they were like, and they still played games and did everything. I was like, what's the secret? She's like, Stephen, you know, like, look, every kid's different, and there's, you know, but she said this. She was like, your kid should be terrified of you, but at the same time should know that you love them. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? She's like, look, I've never had to beat my kid, and like I got spanked when I was younger. You know, like I didn't think about it. I got spanked, and sometimes I think a kid needs to get spanked. Yeah. But like she was like, I never had to hit my kid. But there was one time where I raised my voice and I made my child terrified because I did something bad. And that point forward, I just give them the look. And they're like, oh, man. He's like, but I tell my kids every day that I love them. And there's a balance. There's a balance, you know. But my kids know that, like, they know now when they do something wrong, I give them that look. My dad was a flick in the head. He would flick me in the back of the head and be like, oh, crap. I mean, this is going to be bad if I get home, you know. But But that's like the kids that aren't afraid of their parents, the parents can't discipline them.
Mm-hmm.
For like, I mean, I'll just say my anecdotal experience. When I was, I don't know, I was maybe 8 or 9, and I think like I crossed the street when I shouldn't have crossed the street or something like that. Somewhere I did something, I don't know, I did something. My mom started beating me, like spanking me, and I was laughing. And I was like, because it didn't really hurt. He was like trying, he's like, it didn't really hurt. And then she called my dad. And dude, I cried. I was like, no. And it's because I was terrified of my dad. I was like, my dad hits harder.
That's
like
right.
and he's scarier. My mom, like, she tries to be scary, but it's funny. I was like, oh, Mom, you're kind of like, you're not really scary. I'm not as terrified of you.
Doesn't even hurt.
No. So it started learning. My parents were split growing up, so my mom was able to always, like, anytime something happened, like, do I need to call your father? Nope. No, we're keeping it like that. You know, it's like anytime we needed discipline, my father would step in and be the one to discipline us.
I see Will saying consequence dictate course of action. Consequence dictate courses of action. About kids, you know. He raised his kids pretty well too, you know. Like
Good.
you said about, man, sometimes like his son comes, it's like, you're too polite, and you're too like, it was sometimes the kids drop something, his son will come like, Miss Amanda, can you grab something for me to clean over there? I was like, you're so nice, Queen.
Such a perfect kid. Yeah. It's funny, the areas too. Like areas.
You're putting another level, you know. Like,
yeah.
He's putting to the next level.
Areas play a role too. So like, you know.
I wasn't that nice. Like, I was very polite to the kid, but man, he's.
Yeah.
Step up the next level, you know. So.
Yeah, I love those kids that get like that. Every time I get a kid like that, I go talk to the parent and I just say thank you. I'm like, thank you for making my job easier. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, the kid's polite. It's like when he's in class, I get happy. I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, because I know that I don't have to shadow that kid or keep it on. I know that kid's going to be on task and he's going to do what he needs to do, and it just makes my job easier. I can focus on the other kids that need it, you know.
But when you think about this, sorry for cutting you, but sometimes you have the kids. They play around. They're not as disciplined as others, but I look at them like, you're the one that really needs jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one that most needs jiu-jitsu. Like, my goal is really helping those kids to become a better adult. You know, I know that you I'm here to, like, for you. You know, like like I don't expect having the kids perfect to train, because we want to really use jiu-jitsu as a way to change people's lives. You know, maybe that kid really needs jiu-jitsu to be a better adult. You know,
jiu-jitsu can be used in many ways. It's a great tool to develop people in many things. Like, for example, okay, when a parent opt-ins on our website and is like, hey, you know, I want to get my kids started in jiu-jitsu. When I'm booking a class for them, like, first I qualify them first. I got to make sure that I can help them. So let's say they go the kid route. I'm like, I always ask them, like, well, what makes you interested in getting your kid started? And, you know, some people are upfront. There's like, you know, my kid doesn't really have much confidence. They're pretty shy. You know, I want that. Or my kid's got too much energy, needs more discipline, whatever. But every once in a while you get somebody who they're just like, oh, I just want to see if he'll like it. I was like, what is that? I don't book the class yet. I'm like, I gotta ask more. I gotta dig in a little more. I'm like, well, tell me a little bit more. Are you like, what are you looking to achieve by putting your kid in the program? Why do you want to see if he likes it? What's the reason behind, you know? And then usually if they still don't give me anything, I go a direction. Kids always go in usually two directions. They're either shy or they're hyperactive. If they're shy, they need confidence. Usually, if they're hyperactive, they need discipline. Usually, those are like the two routes where it starts to go, of why people put them into it, right? And then the reasons why they stay are other byproducts. But like, those are like the two directions we go. The people that are shy, they need that confidence, because later in life, how can being shy as a child affect them? Maybe not being able to say no when they should be able to say no. to somebody that's causing problems with them, when they become an adult, and confrontation, not being able to have the confidence to speak up. You know, for example, I say this all the time, it's like, when an employer tells you, hey, I'm going to pay you X amount of money. You applied here. I agree. I want to hire you, JP. I'm going to pay you X amount of money. A lot of people just accept that money. They go, okay. And they might even not agree with it in their mind. Okay. Because they don't have the confidence to go, that I appreciate the offer. I'm going to need a little bit more. Can you do this? And it's like, because if you agree to X amount of money, but then you complain about your pay, bro, that's your fault. That's your fault. You why'd you agree to that? You agreed there. You can't be complaining now, brother. That's you. That's you, right? So the confidence that somebody could get through jiu-jitsu may help that man or woman when they get older and somebody offers them a salary and they go, that's okay, but I need this. I need this. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Because most employers will too. Most employers, you go get a job at the grocery store and let's say they want to offer you $15 an hour. If you counter offer and be like, hey, look, that's good. I kind of need 17. You know, that person's going to do one of two things. They're going to go, no, I can't pay you. I have to do that. And if you don't take it, then they'll just hire somebody else. Mm-hmm. Or they'll see the value and go, man, okay, this guy's actually a hard worker. Yeah, I'll pay you this. You know. But anyways.
No, that's a good point. You know,
the discipline. The discipline part. What happens if a kid doesn't get disciplined? Dude, that affects him so much. That kid might become a bad person. That kid might not do very well in school. That kid might gain a bunch of weight. Yeah, discipline lacking discipline affects you in so many areas of life. You
Following rules.
Yeah.
You don't follow rules as adults. Where you go to? You go to...
You go to jail.
You know, like learning how to follow rules as a kid is extremely important.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes parents need to they reinforce her. Hey.
Yeah.
You gotta follow this rule here. Enough for now.
Yeah, I think too many parents want to try to be the friend. And I think it's okay to have that aspect of something, but like Mike made a post recently and he said he's like, I don't care if my kids don't like me. I'm butchering exactly how he worded it. I don't care if my kids don't like me. He's like, I'm a parent, you know. And I mean, it when you look at Mike and his kids love him. Like Mike does so much for his kids. His kids love Mike. It's like it's great. His kids are also very respectful, very disciplined, and tough as hell. If I was a kid, I wouldn't want to fight any of his kids. They'll beat me up. No way, you know. His kids are going to be successful in life because he's being
setting them up.
Yeah, he's setting them up for success with the addition of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
With the addition of jiu-jitsu.
And knowing that, like I'm not a parent yet, but we're dealing with so many kids. You know, like I think we need to know our position in life. You know, as a kid, you need to know that you're the kid. You're the son. You have to, whatever parents tell you. You know, like you gotta follow the rules. And I see the parents. Like, parents are usually, when I talk to them, they're like they really want to prepare their kids for their future. You know, like they raise the kids already thinking about, hey, how I need to prepare this little kid to deal with the world by themselves.
Yeah, they have to be ready to fight the world. And here's something too, is like we only get the kids 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So 2 hours or a 45-minute class, depending on what you got, right? So 2-3 hours a week. Well, if it's not reinforced at home, we only have so much control. There was one kid we used to teach. I'm not going to name his name, but there was one kid we used to teach, and very undisciplined, and parents were a mess. And kid's a great kid. He was like 5 when he started with us. When he started taking class, we started seeing some change, but the mother made a point, like he took summer camp with us one time, and the mother made a point. She said after summer camp or after days where he trained consecutively, he was a different child. But then a couple weeks after summer camp, for example, where he was with us every day, Monday through Friday, like he kind of falls out of that rhythm. And it's like, and I had to tell her, I'm like, well, it has to be carried at home. Mm-hmm. And the issue is her and her husband were split. So she was like, she would try to enforce it, but the husband wasn't. And it was bad. It was like to the point where like kid was 6. He was like 6, 7 years old at the time, and I remember he lost to a little girl. The kid lost to a little girl, and like when the kid went to the side, the dad like confronted him. He's like almost like yelled at him for losing to the girl. He was like, "You lost to a girl. You lost to a girl." It's like what the heck? And like I wasn't in a position where I could go over and say something to him at the time, so it's like I just like watched it, and then he left, and I was like, holy crap, dude. I was like, that...
The most disencouraging
yeah, I was like, that doesn't...
The worst thing he could say.
The worst thing. And then it all clicked, it all made sense, is the kid, when he was in class, the kid was always getting frustrated when he lost, and he was always looking over at the parents, and it all made sense. It's because the kid wanted one thing. He just wanted to make his dad happy. That's all he wanted to do, was make his dad proud. So him losing made him feel that he was upsetting his parents. And it's like...
Which looks like it was in that point, right?
Yeah, so I never blame the kid. It's the parent. It's like, man, I was like, that kid is trying his hardest right now. If that dad were to take the approach and been like, hey, good job, son, I'm proud of you.
It would change.
Complete different freaking child. Complete different child. Child would be completely different.
That's true. No, that's important lessons. And like, not knowing, not being a parent, but dealing with so many kids, we learn so much about just watching. You see, like, you can kind of read the kid, by
you can see
watching how they behave,
Yeah, every student, every kid, every adult, everybody's a little different. Little different approaches you have to take.
Yeah.
Like I have one kid that I'm working with, and awesome kid and very hard worker. But the kid, he lacks emotional control. So when he loses, he gets caught in like this scarf-hold headlock with this one kid, and the kid just puts him in it a million times, and he starts crying that he's in it, but he's not crying because it hurts. He's just frustrated because he doesn't know how to get out of it. And I try to show him the moves, but like when he starts getting in it, he gives up because he's like, oh, I'm here again.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I have little pep talks with him after class all the time about like emotional control and all. He's like, he's got all his excuses and stuff, and it's like, so, but it's like, yeah, that's what makes jiu-jitsu so great, is like at some point I will crack that shell on this kid, and that kid will see what I'm talking about, and he will develop that emotional control, But if I go to that kid and I go, hey man, you need to stop crying, you need to stop doing that. Like there's a time and place for things like that. But you'd be like, you need to stop. If I do that, that kid might quit. I had a little girl one time. I ran the competition class for the kids, and I put them through a tough class. Like it was hard. I wanted to break them that day. I was like, you're going through it. We're getting real tough on this one. And so they were going and like they're jogging. They would like roll and then jog, roll and then, so there was no resting. When they go to switch partners, I would have them jog for a minute first at like a good pace, and then they go find partners. So they're exhausted, they're tired. They're probably, it was that long day at school too, homework, everything. So of course, when kids start to get tired, they cry. So this one little girl, she starts crying, and she's like, hyperventilating a little bit. So I pulled her aside. I was like, gave her some love, and I was like, hey, look, you need to stop crying now, and you need to get out there and jog. I'm not going to stop everybody from jogging until you stop crying. Can you do that for me? She's like, I'll try. I was like, no, you can do that. You're a tough girl. I know you can do it. Go show me that. She goes out there. She starts jogging. She stops crying. I let them go find their partners. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. She came to me last week and was sitting there. She's like, I remember, because I was talking about the emotional talk with the class. And she was like, I remember when you told me that I couldn't stop jogging until I stopped crying. And she was like, and I just think about that every time that I get frustrated, because that forced me to control my emotions, to stop and force myself crying. So now when I start getting sad, I can force myself. I can control myself a little bit more. And it makes you feel good as an instructor when you know that you played a role in helping somebody like that. And it just feels good. That's like, again, your purpose, like we talked earlier, changes. When you see it, when you talk to an adult that lost 50 pounds, you talk to a guy that his girlfriend broke up with him and he was really depressed, and you helped him change his life. And you talk to somebody else who use jiu-jitsu in some form of way to protect themselves, whatever, or a child to help them for becoming more confident. When you see that new product that jiu-jitsu has turned them into, and then when they come and give you that oxytocin and that compliment and say that you played the role, it's like, it feels really good.
Yeah,
it feels good to help people.
And even when I train my students, when they do something good, I was like,
yeah, nice. It's good, yeah. Like,
when they defeated me, I was like, that's awesome.
Good move. I like that you just did
really
that. Good job. Yes.
Good stuff. Stephen, man, thank you so much for being here with us today. like I said before, right? Every season you gotta come back. Every season, you come to the podcast and have new things to talk about, chat about, and just want to thank you for coming.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Had a good time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Before you go, you want to give a shout out or to anybody?
I mean, no, that's a tough one. I mean, everybody. You know, I guess I would just leave everybody with think about that Kaizen way quote. That's been helping me a lot lately. Little successes. So if you're frustrated in jiu-jitsu, or you want to lose weight, or you wanna advance your game, being through education, schooling, whatever it is you want to do, the little victories start there. You want to change your diet. You may not be able to do it right away. Some people can. I can't. So you start little things, man. And I think that helps people in many areas more than one in jiu-jitsu. Like if you want to, like how many people want to change their diet or lose weight, but they don't take action because they're afraid of the full culture shock. Don't worry about the culture shock. Just go to the gym for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Oh, but that's not going to make a change. It will over time. That 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes. That 20 minutes turns into 40. That 40 goes into an hour workout. That 1 day a week goes into 2 days. Yeah. But it's the little changes that are going to make the difference. It's the fact that you're taking action. An imperfect action beats no action any day. I'll say that again. An imperfect action beats no action any day. Too many people are waiting for the perfect opportunity to do it. Just do it. Just get started.
True. I like that. That's a good one. And thank you, Stephen, so much. Guys, just shout out to our sponsor that keep us going. Thank you guys so much for being part of PBJJF. Brave Kimono is the best jiu-jitsu gear in the market, as you guys already know. If you want to look good, be sharp. I wear Brave every day, all day, and my students too. Just want to thank you, Brave, for sponsoring PBJJF. Santos Law Firm, the best and high-profile immigration law service, the best and only one to go. If you need any immigration service, if you're in jiu-jitsu, man, she's the best. So the Flavia, she's the owner of the they have 50 people work on her team, so many people, and that's the way to go. Santos Law Firm. Also, Perkins Dental Care, the dental office for you and for your family in the Baltimore area. If you need mouth guard, implants, cleaning, anything, go to Perkins Dental Care. And we have a new sponsor coming soon to the podcast. So soon you guys gonna get to know. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to support us, comment, like, share, and also a better one, go to our sponsors and tell them, hey, comment on any photo or send them a message. Hey, I saw your brand on PBJJF. They're doing a great job. Keep it up, man. They're really a positive place to put your brand and put your name on. I think there's a big support. And if you need service, use our sponsors. This really helps us to give back to their image. I hope you guys can do that. If you could do that, Steven, as well, that would be great. And that's it, guys. If you want to train with Steven, where we go?
Rising Tide in Columbia, Maryland, and then we've got two other locations. You got High Tech up in Hanover, and then Finksburg, Rising Tide as well. But I'm out of the Columbia location.
And there's one in Baltimore too, right?
No, just those three.
Yeah.
Just those three. Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
And if you want to train with me, come to Gogi Jiu-Jitsu in Savannah Park, and let's train. And I hope to see you guys on the mats. Ooh.